For our first story, we have, am I the asshole for deciding to postpone the wedding over a comment my fiancé made about my scar? I, female, have a visible scar on the side of my neck. It's been there for over 6 years and no one has ever commented on it or made any negative remarks about it. However, my fiancé would make comments about my scar and make it seem as flirting, like for instance complaining he has kissed every part of my body, except my neck because of the scar, and how the scar looked like a kid messed up such a great art, referring to my look, etc. etc. I told him I didn't appreciate it even if he was using the scar to be flirty with me, but he insisted he loves me anyway. Our wedding is approaching and I've been busy with the wedding planning, and days ago, my fiancé and I and in-laws were talking about the wedding and was talking about how we're going to finally be married. He laughed and said, "I'm marrying you minus the scar." I was stunned when he said that, especially in front of his family. I was too upset. I got up and walked out of the room. We had a big fight and he kept saying I was being a drama queen and that he said, "Nothing wrong." He doubled down when I said I'd consider postponing the wedding because of his comment and he called me crazy. His mom said that I'm obviously traumatized by my scar to let it ruin my marriage with her son and suggested therapy. She told me that the scar was the issue, not her son who loves as I am and chose me to be his wife. IDK. I really feel horrible right now. I don't know if I said the right thing about postponing the wedding and whether I'm overreacting in this situation. My girlfriends have previously said that my fiancé shouldn't even be bringing up the scar like that. That's the end of our first post. Let's see what the commenters had to say. Our first commenter says, "Not the asshole, I want to marry you, but my scar does not." Our second commenter says, "Not the asshole, but rather than postpone it, I would call it off. Clearly you deserve better than this jackass and his family." Our third commenter says, "Not the asshole. That's hurtful, disrespectful, and calling attention to something that is very much a part of you in a negative way. When you love someone, you do so not in spite of the things that make them unique, but because of those things. I'd venture to say that scar has shaped how you feel about yourself, the world, relationships, etc. and contributed to the woman you are today." For our second story, we have, update, am I the asshole for just refusing to cook for my wife at this point? About a month ago, I posted here about something that happened over dinner one night. My wife, Jennifer, literally retched at my cooking, despite taking the tiniest bite imaginable. After that, I refused to cook for her, which made her very angry. It was this bizarre disconnect between her thinking my food was trash, not fit for a compost bin, but her demanding that I continue making it for her anyway. I was hesitant to update because for some reason beyond my understanding, I received about a dozen hate-filled direct messages after my last post. They were all being sent from users of a parody community of this. I have no idea what I did to make so many people upset, but a lot of people have asked me for an update, so I figured I'd give one. Anyway, the last month has been really eye-opening for me. I had long ago noticed that Jennifer was highly critical of my cooking, but over this time, I've come to realize that she's really critical of just about everything that I do. For example, 2 weeks ago, I was walking outside with her. I'm pigeon-toed, and have been since I was a baby, although it's a lot better now. Jennifer asked why I was walking with my toes slightly pointed in, and when I explained to her that I'm pigeon-toed, she responded in an exasperated tone, greater than, "Why don't you just try walking with your feet straight?" Yes. Thank you. My literal bone issue was just magically cured by your advice. I never realized that the problem to something I have suffered from for nearly 40 years was staring me right in the face. At least now if I know I ever get cancer, I can just get rid of it by deciding not to have cancer. You see, I never really noticed how critical she is towards me on virtually everything I do. She's just more forward about my cooking. For example, when she walks into my home office, she always scrunches up her face in this really displeased way. I don't think she likes the interior, which I designed, because she wants nothing but white and gray in every room in the house. Whenever I try to do the laundry, she'll hear me open the washing machine door and beeline over to backseat me through the whole process. This is coming from a woman who once ruined a $1,500 suit of mine because she thought bleach would be the perfect stain remover, by the way. When I was explaining an issue I had with my colleague to her, she took my colleague's side despite her being objectively in the wrong from an industry standpoint. My wife was adamant though. I must have been the one to screw things up. I'm honestly just exhausted. The criticism of my cooking was the worst, yes, but it really just overshadowed everything else she always found fault with me on. I tried to have a conversation with her, and naturally she denied doing anything of the sort, denied ever being rude to me, and even denied retching at my food. She actually tried to gaslight me here. She kept asking me questions like, when did I do that? Tell me the date. Then she called me a hypocrite for being critical of her, hijacked the conversation, and eventually stonewalled me. I've come to realize that I don't really like my wife anymore. She's just such a negative person. It makes me sad, but in the next few days, I'm going to ask her for a divorce. She's not going to like it, but I've come to realize that when she walks into a room I'm in, I get anxious about what she's going to say to me. Thank you for all your comments. I also apologize if this was long-winded. My marriage is falling apart and I'm not in the best headspace right now. Edit. Thanks for all the advice. I'm getting hate messages from that community again, and I really don't need this as I have to deal with child custody, divorce, assets, and telling my children that mommy and daddy are going to be separating. It's a really stressful time, and they're mocking me in DMs. I'm going to stop checking my inbox on this account, so I won't be reading any more of your comments. Thank you so much for all the support. That's the end of our second post. Let's see what the commenters had to say. Our first commenter says, "You don't ask your wife for a divorce. You see a lawyer and go through the process." Our second commenter says, "Don't ask for a divorce, dude. Just see a lawyer to draw up the papers and have her served. She doesn't deserve your consideration at this point." Our third commenter says, "Not the asshole. I'm sorry to hear how you have been treated, but no one deserves to live like this. You should be with someone who loves you and lifts you up, not tears you down and gets enjoyment out of it. I'd go speak to a lawyer first and get everything in line so you know where you stand and she can't file before you and put lies in. So don't tell her until she's served or you have the papers to serve her ready." For our last story, we have, "Am I the ass for telling my mother if she brings up my hair again, I will go NC with her?" Quick background. I, 42 female, was on chemo about 2 years ago and most of my hair fell out. My hair is growing back, but it's patchy, so I tend to wear wigs when out in public. I've been keeping my hair very short until it completely fills in, which my doctor says may or may not happen. My mom, 76 female, started making these comments about 6 months after all of my hair fell out that I looked like a boy, and last she checked she gave birth to a girl. At first, I ignored it, but then she started making the comment at just about every family and church function to the point other people even started to comment that she's being mean and downright rude. I did let it go a lot, even defending her to family that she's coping with me being on chemo and all that entails, and this is just how she's doing it. A couple nights ago, my mom came over to visit. I didn't have the wig on because I don't wear it when I'm home. My son, 8 meters, made a comment to my mom about the green wig my husband, 44 male, bought me and how he thought it was so cool I could just change my hair color overnight. My mom looked right at me and said, "You look like a boy. I remember giving birth to a girl." My son just stared at my mom. I don't know if she's ever made the comment in front of him before. I was frustrated and fed up with other things that happened that day and just snapped. I told my mom she needed to leave. My mom got really upset and started insisting that it's just harmless teasing. My son said something about his mom not being a boy and Nana being rude, but I don't remember all of it. I just asked her to leave again. She did pick up her things, but she kept defending herself, calling me childish and saying that the chemo has made me too sensitive about my hair. I snapped at her that if she brought up my hair one more time, I would go completely no contact with her and she would not be allowed to see my son. My son told my husband about it when he got home, but my husband already knew about it. My mom had sent him a bunch of texts claiming I was rude to her, my son was rude to her, I was being petty and childish, I don't love her, and it was all just harmless teasing. My husband told her she owed me an apology and she's not allowed over again until she gives me one. I guess where I'm doubting myself a little is that she called my brother about it and he's defending her, saying she didn't handle me being on chemo well and she thought I was going to die. She did help a lot with my son when I was too tired to function, much less care for a young child, and my husband had to work because of the bills. It's not been an easy few years, that's for sure. Edit. Yikes, I did not expect this to blow up. I will clarify a few things that people have asked. The first is that, as far as we know, my mom does not have any sort of cognitive decline like dementia. My brother did actually insist she see a doctor about a year ago and be given a memory and cognition test, and the doctor told my brother everything was fine. So, unless something major happened in the past few months, not out of the realm of possibility, although unlikely, this is just how she is. The second is that she has always hyper-focused on things about me that I found hurtful. I didn't get married young enough, I was too old when I had my son, I don't have enough children, I should have focused on my career instead of school, and so much more. I actually did go several months where I didn't talk to her in my 20s and only reached back out after my dad got sick. He has since passed. The last is that I have been seeing the comments about my husband and son, and I agree. They are two of the most wonderful people in the entire world. My husband has put his foot down that mom is not allowed back to the house until she has formally apologized to my son and myself, willingly becoming the bad guy. My son was pretty upset about her comment and says he doesn't remember her saying it before. He was more offended that she called me a boy than anything about my hair. I've heard him brag to his friends about how I can change my hair in 5 minutes and he thinks it's cool. That was one of the ways my husband and I tried to cushion my cancer to him. We had to tell him I was sick, but we tried to make it a little better with, Mom can change her hair anytime she wants to, now. We never let him know how bad it was or that there was any chance I might not survive. Thank you all so much for the support. I've been really beating myself up about this because it feels so silly. It's just dumb, really. I don't want my son to expose to mom's behavior, though, because while I don't deserve it, he definitely doesn't deserve it. That's the end of our last post. Let's see what the commenters had to say. Our first commenter says, "Not the asshole. Making fun of a cancer survivor for having lost their hair? What is this? I don't even. Was she always a clueless bitch, or is she starting to suffer from dementia? WTF. Our second commenter says, "Not the asshole. Tell your brother he's in a dollar. Your mother has been continually rude and just nasty to you. Her so-called way of coping is to bully you. That's just toxic and you deserve better." Our third commenter says, "Remind your brother that when other families are dealing with the trial of cancer and chemo, many shave their own heads in support of their loved one instead of being a bully. Tell your brother that if he's going to support a bully in your lowest moment, you'll go and see with him as well." That's all for today. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.